A lot of the stuff you see in the movies is like never been to a drug deal where people were bringing guns. I mean, these guys are showing up with duffel bags with $1 million. You know the guys, you know who you're dealing with. It's super beneficial for them, for us. Why would you go to the meeting if I thought I needed a gun? He's like, then I'm not going. The whole, you lost 100 keys. They're going to kill you. No, he's like, they're going to say, how can we work this out? He goes, because you've had a lot of success. They know busts happen. You know, he said, now if they think you were involved in the bust, you got a problem. Yeah. But it busts
or
random.
Sometimes if you can't prove that was
another
involved.
thing. That's another thing. He said, like, literally one time some vehicles got grabbed that were stuffed with stuff. And the DEA, like, there was a big thing with the truck driver who's saying, like, I need something. You're taking the trucks. I'm not involved. You need to give me something for those trucks. Like, I need proof that you took these trucks. So they like gave him a card. They gave him like a receipt.
It's true.
Because he's like, I don't give a that you took the trucks. What I care about is I can't show up without them and not have something to show these guys.
100%.
She goes, I open up a popsicle box that had $30,000 or $40,000 in it. I tell her, look, I'm wanted. And she's like, wanted by who? And I said, like, all of them. I said, like, FBI, Secret Service, everybody. She said, for what? I said, nothing violent, fraud. She's like, yeah, but it doesn't even make sense. She's like, I mean, you know people here. Like, it'll catch up to you. I said, well, that's another thing. I said that one of my charges is identity theft. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm not Joseph Carter. Don't look to see who I am. If I ever hear you utter my name, I'm leaving. And she said, okay, like, she's deeply in love with me. She does end up finding out who I am. One day our corporate attorney called. She sent me an email. I said, hey, I sent this to the corporate attorney. She said she never got it. Can you please go on my Word, print out the document, email it to her? She goes onto Word and she sees letter to mom and dad, which is a letter I'd written the day I left, explaining to my parents what was happening. So she clicks on it. George and Margaret Cox, Matthew Cox. She looks up Matthew Cox. Boom. Bank fraud, mortgage fraud, Secret Service's most wanted, FBI. I didn't even know there were this many articles. Like, you know how you hit the history bar? I mean, wow. It was like, woo, woo. I mean, she spent all day. So when I get home, I go to turn off my computer, and you know how you go to close things out, and I saw that Word was open. I go to close out Word, and the last thing that's open shows up, and boom, letter to mom and dad. Immediately hit the history bar. Whoa. I thought, oh my God, what has she done? I go in and I'm like, what did you do? She's like, nothing. I got Outback. Like, I'm like, no, not dinner. Boom, immediately starts crying. Oh my God. She begs me to stay. I stayed. Now she's searching me constantly. Amanda ends up telling a friend of ours who I am. She contacted the Secret Service. Secret Service watched the house for a few days. Boom, they pull up. Get on the ground. And that's it. I was arrested. VA guys in prison were treated very well, and they're very manipulative, and they'll have multiple guys buying them commissary, getting them shoes. They'll have multiple boyfriends. They'll charge for sexual acts. People will put money on their books. They'll end up getting, they call him a war daddy, a big guy that
like defends them.
Yes.
Does it happen often where people go to prison not knowing they're gay? They turn gay in prison, then they continue to be gay outside of prison.
Like,
yeah, Jesus, you really
situation.
thought about this. A lot of guys they'll get the nudie magazines, the girl magazines, whatever. They're not Playboy, like Penthouse or whatever. And they'll just look at that. Like, that seems like that's all you ever see them looking at. But I never did that, because I remember thinking that's going to make my time. I'm not going to focus my time on that. And as I was locked up for a longer period of time, I started thinking to myself, 2 years go by, 3, 4, you kind of give up on the idea. As I was approaching, my mid 40s, that part of your life is over. You'll never be in love again, So I just didn't. And I convinced Social Security to issue me Social Security numbers for children that don't exist. Called them once, and at first I said, hey, I'm 31 years old and I've never had a Social Security number. And they're like, that's not true. Do you have a driver's license? Yes. Okay, you have a Social Security number. Click. Then I call back, hey, I was born. They're like, are you born in a hospital? I was like, yeah. They're like, you've got one. Hang up. Then I said, hey, I was born with a midwife and I never had one. Well, do you have a driver's license? Yes. You've got one. Damn it. You ever had a bank account? Yes. I'm like, yeah. And then I tried to say all these different things. Then I figured, okay, who wouldn't? They were like, somebody said, there's no way you can get to be 30 years old and not have one. Get your driver's license, come down here. We'll look it up for you. I went, yeah, I'm too old. So I call back and I say, hey, listen, I got a 3-year-old son. He was born with a midwife. He never had a Social Security number issued to him. And they went, okay, well, come down here. Bring your son, hang up, call back. I say, I can't. He's in, Colombia with my wife or wherever. She's going to have him there for the next year or two. But I need this to claim him on my taxes. And one woman says, yeah, oh gosh, that's too bad. How old is he? And I went, oh, he's 3. And she goes, oh, that's too bad. I said, well, why? She goes, well, if he was under 12 months old, he wouldn't need to show up. You could just bring his birth certificate and his shot record. Yes. I hang up, call back. Hi, my son was born with a midwife. He's 10 months old. He's out of the country. How do I get a social security number? They said, oh, bring his birth certificate and his shot record. So I go online. I print out a shot record for Hillsborough County Vital Statistics. They show you how to print one out. They even fill it out. They have one that's an example of one that's filled out. Use the date of birth, right? That I just chose for this fictitious person. Then I made a fake birth certificate. I order the security paperwork. You know, one of those, you make a copy of it and it says void if copied. Like I get that. It's multicolored. You order like 1,000 sheets of it. It comes. I go into Social Security. I give them the shot record. They go, oh, that's so weird. Hold on. They check and they go, oh, wow, you're right. He doesn't have a Social Security number. They go, you'll have one. Here's your stuff back. They gave me a little printout that said almost nothing, that I had ordered one or something. They said, you'll have one in 10 days. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, boom, comes in the mail.
I'd rather deal with criminals than people in Hollywood. They'll never tell you no. They lie to your face. And what they do is this. First, they have a meeting with you, go, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going to talk to my team next week. 2 weeks later, you get the email back or the phone or the text message that says, they love it. We're going to talk to Jan at Netflix. We're good friends, Jan and I. She runs the doc department there. Okay. 2 weeks after that, maybe a month later, you send them a text. Hey, whatever happened? I didn't hear back from you. Sorry. She loves it. Very interested. She's going to talk to Bill. A week later, Bill's on vacation. He gets back at the end of whatever. Okay. Then you hear that he said he likes it. They're going to get together. They're going to talk at their monthly meeting. Okay. We're now 4 months in, by the way, 3 to 4 months in. Then it becomes, Matt, unfortunately, they do love it. They're super interested. We're going to have a meeting next week. You have that meeting. Then they go, unfortunately, Matt, nothing is getting done over the holidays. The holidays for Hollywood is from basically the beginning of November until the end of January. Like there's 3 months that apparently nobody works, and they'll tell you this with a straight face. And then at the end of those months, you either never hear from them again, or you get another phone call where these people said no, but they're starting the process over with Discovery Channel. As they go through, those companies start saying no, 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 no. It gets down to FX, lower and lower and lower, to the point where it's like, you know, they're trying to do a 1 hour documentary for the people that want $30,000. And really that's just to line their pockets with 40 grand and spend 2 months to try and throw something together. Because all they have to do is throw some piece of garbage together. They put it up there and maybe you get paid back the 60, which probably not. You might make $5,000 or $10,000 back at some point and the money's gone and that's it. West Palm, Boca, that whole little strip all the way to Miami. Like that's where all the mobsters go. Yeah. That's where all the fraudsters go. That's where every guy, every stockbroker that's running a scam in New York gets caught, goes to jail. And then when they all go right down there, they all like, and so in that general area, it's really not Miami. Yeah. It's that general area of
Boca, Del Rey, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. It's fraud. It's like so much fraud and it's not even little fraud. Yeah. The frauds that happen down there, it's never credit card fraud. Yeah. It's always, this guy ran $100 million Ponzi scheme. This guy it's always these massive frauds down there. Even the stock frauds.
And everybody's just like walking around like,
they're all driving. Everybody's driving a Ferrari. Everybody's driving a Lamborghini. Everybody looks great. They're all amazing. And then you start talking to them. It's like 80% of the guys down there they're all from New York.
Yeah, like how do you have a Lamborghini in this bit, like with this business? Like you're like washing cars.
Yeah, and that's Joseph Vitale. Same thing. I think he grew up on Long Island. I'm going to send you this guy, Joseph Vitale. I wrote a story on him. Yeah. Same thing. He went down there. He was going to the Art Institute. He's dating a girl whose friend is dating a guy who's a stockbroker. And they all go to lunch one day. The guy pulls up on a Lamborghini. Vitale's driving a 10-year-old piece of shit. He's like, what do you do? And the guy's like, I'm a stockbroker. Why don't you come by? Gives him his card, and he goes by a couple days later. Vitale quits everything he's doing just to be a stockbroker with this guy. He's like, he was good looking. He's got all the women. He's got this amazing car, and New York. He was from New York. Vitale, it's
right, Long Island.
Yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap. You get down there
Long Island to South Florida move it is funny like that. Like pretty much everybody I know, it's kind of, I maybe did much bigger things, but they all kind of follow the same path.
Right.
If I was opening a bank account in somebody's name, like I would go make a fake ID and go open up a bank account in the name of Brandon Green. I'd go in, give them the ID, walk in, sit down. They would pull up Brandon Green. I've got a social security number for him, everything. Not a stolen identity. It's a synthetic identity. Let's say they pull him up and they would go, huh, you don't want to hear, huh. And I just sat there. I mean, everything in me is like, run. I didn't say, what's going on? What's wrong? I was like, everything okay? And she was like, yeah, it's weird. It says fraud alert. It says you've never had a bank account. Have you ever had a bank account? I said, with my ex-wife, I think we opened it like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, but I'm pretty sure she closed it. And she's looking at me and I'm looking at her. What do I mean? I don't want to keep running my mouth. I'm just going to get myself in trouble. I don't know what she's looking at. And then she goes and does this with the ID, to see the, hologram. I made the ID. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, what is she doing? And she goes, hold on, gets up, goes across the bank, talks to her manager. Her manager comes out. She holds up the thing, looks at it, looks over at me, says something. They have a conversation. She goes, yeah, walks over, sits down. She says, okay, do you want a gold plan or the silver? She opens it. I never talk again. I sign the documents. I get my stuff. I leave.